This is Miss Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to the Queen Lizzie podcast. Together, we will go through the history of Rosewood, Florida, and watch as the once prosperous town rises out of the bloodshed, fire, and ash to reveal the people, the memory, and the legacy of Rosewood. Watch every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen to our story on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hello, everybody. This is Mrs. Lizzie Polly Robinson Brown Jenkins, representing not only the Rosewood Foundation, but the personal testimonies and history of cherished friends and family. You are now watching the Queen Lizzie podcast. Today, we are talking with John Jenkins Sr. Good afternoon, John Jenkins Sr.
Good evening, Queen Lizzie.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
And would you like to tell the audience who you are and who you represent?
I am Queen Lizzie's husband. I represent Rosewood from the beginning of her journey. And exactly proud to be here because this is my first time being with her on the broadcast.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And he is my right-hand man as far as Rosewood history and research is concerned. And as he said, he has been with me since the beginning. He has, as authorized by my mother and his mother-in-law, his mother-in-law. She challenged us with keeping this history alive, and now we are the gatekeepers. And he promised her, I'll let him tell you what he promised her that he was going to do as a gatekeeper for the history.
Queen Lizzie, as a gatekeeper to Rosewood, I've been involved for so long that I did all the transportation of material to Rosewood when Rosewood was not expected to accept certain people. Other than that, I kept going and people began to see me down there more often. That's why they began to learn me and see what I was there for. And I have been on this journey so long, I could almost do it with my eyes closed because it wasn't but two of us. She would tell me where to go to get material, and I would bring it to Rosewood. I would clean it up after we got through at the stadium and enjoyed being there because I have met a lot of people that was involved with Rosewood. I have been to some little homes back there when it was about one black person living back there. And then after that, I realized that that was the only black person back there. And nowadays, I haven't seen any other one other than the ones that come down to Rosewood to investigate and to see what Rosewood is about.
And what he is talking about years ago, when we first started this, he suggested that we do peace and healing ceremonies, and he was the person, and in order to do that, we invited friends from everywhere. And sure enough, they would show up, and when they came, they were looking for something. So what he did, he would rent items, microphones, stage, chairs, platform, whatever we needed. He would rent this and would meet us in Rosewood and would set it up, and we would invite the community of Rosewood. And there were some whites that came and not participated, but they were involved because they wanted to know what was going on. So we have been on this journey, on this battlefield for a long time, because my mom said, baby, you take care of my baby and you take care of Rosewood history, and together I'm going to make you all the gatekeepers, and you must tell it. When he said it was two of us, it was actually two of us that invested in Rosewood because my mom believed in it. She knew this history needed to be preserved, and she trusted us. She knew I could not do it all by myself, so she assigned him. They were good friends, and they worked together sometimes behind my back, however. I'll tell you all about that later. But they were good friends, and he was a good listener, and she knew with him being on my side that we were going to preserve the Rosewood history as she dictated to us. And her sister, and I have to tell this each time I talk because hopefully I'm talking to new people each time I make this presentation. Her sister, Mahalda Gussie Brown Carrier from Archer, was the Rosewood teacher from 1915 to 1923, survived, told my mom her situation, which was really bad. She shared it with my mom, and my mom saw it, thought it necessary to continue telling that history and keeping the Rosewood history alive. And it has not been easy. 30 years ago, my husband and I married. We've been married for 35 years. So it hasn't been easy keeping this history up front. But it's her vision to tell her family's story and not allow it to be forgotten. Yesterday, a couple of days ago, April 30th was a special day for her sister because she transitioned on April 30th, 129 years ago. So on my Facebook, I sent out a rest in peace, happy, heavenly birthday to her. I also have a movie that I'm going to put up that is a reenactment of her life. It's going to start, it starts at the house where they were born, and it goes from there to the church they attended, St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church. And it's going to take you to her gravesite, where her headstone. And after we leave the church, we travel to Rosewood and talk about the historical marker and what is going on and what is happening as we speak. So yes, today is the 30th was her birthday, which was very special. And as I told people on my website, I remember when she died, transition. It was 1948. I was age 10. I remember attending the funeral, and because of my mom's sadness, of course I was sad too. I understood what death was. So my dad and all of my mom's children, suffered we got through it. But it was heartbreaking. No, her husband was not there because they were no longer married. That's another story that I'm not going to talk about, but they were no longer together. However, he came to that funeral, and kind of like in disguise, and I hadn't planned to go here, but anyway, we did see him at the service with a hat, I don't know why he was trying to disguise himself, but they were no longer together. And it was a very friendly departure. I don't know, but I don't think they ever divorced each other. She just left him. She was tired of Rosewood, and he had become very friendly and loved talking about Rosewood to people that she didn't care for, and he made himself the hero for the Rosewood story. She didn't like that. She could not deal with it. And she left him because once they moved to Jacksonville, they had an insurance man that would come to the house. She fired the milkman, the insurance man, and any other kind of man because she could not deal with white men coming to her house because her agony, her pain, the violation that she received was part of the mistreatment that she received from them. And I'm going to tell you that I represent the Real Rosewood Foundation, and we want you to donate, okay? And I'm asking you up front, donate go to rosewoodflorida.com and donate. It doesn't matter what amount you donate. You sit here, you listen to my story, and you said, oh, that's a good story. Now I'm going to say to you, oh, do a good donation. Okay? It costs me energy and time. Okay? All I want you to do is donate so that we can move the house from Rosewood to Archer and make a museum representing the people that suffered in Rosewood. We want to always remember them. And I want you to know the owners of the house, Ian and Hannah Stone, own the property in Rosewood. They own the house. They still own it. However, they have donated the house to us. The house needs to be moved like 37 miles to Archer. Okay? Donate at rosewoodflorida.com. Maybe if I say it enough, you'll get my message. Hint, hint, donate. rosewoodflorida.com. If I sound like I'm begging, you are very smart. I am appealing, however, not begging. But help us. This is a 30-year project that I have been bringing you the truth. My mom said, research, authenticate, tell the truth, involve people. And you are the people that I am trying to involve. And my husband is very, 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 very supportive of what I am doing and what I have been doing. Although now our organization and our board and our people of interest are gathering around us, taking apart an interest in what we are doing. We certainly appreciate that. And because I am talking about moving the house, rosewoodflorida.com, I want you to know a few days ago, the Florida Land Trust donated to the foundation $500K, like $500,000. Does that sound good? It is an excellent donation. We appreciate that. We are happy. Now, with that said, and that has been done, we still need to move the house. That money is going to be used to clear the land, clean the land, planning, zoning, and start the construction. The construction of what? Of the Rosewood House. Where is the Rosewood House? It's still in Rosewood. Again, donate 2, 5, 10, 500, whatever. Okay? So that we can move the house. And the reason we are moving and talking about this house, we are going to leave a legacy. We're going to leave a museum. We're going to leave a history for the next generation. Am I the next generation? No. Who are the next generation? Our young people. I want you to know I have written several books, and this one, I'll show it to you, is Rosewood. It's called Rosewood. This book is compiled of letters from children, 4th graders in Levy County. Whenever I speak, I say to them, if you had been living in 1923, how would you have prevented the Rosewood Massacre? Or did you enjoy my story? And this is one of the letters that I'm going to read from a child. And it says, a written part of history. Dear Miss Jenkins, I found the Rosewood Massacre very terrifying. The fact that they dragged that man and woman and altogether different town was very disturbing. I couldn't believe that a little matter like skin color could cause such extremely violent problems. I hope a written history of Rosewood will show how stupid we act over nothing, which will cause other problems to end, so a massacre doesn't happen again. Thoughts of by Sarah. And I'm not going to share her last name. The parents agreed that these children could write these letters. That letter from a 10-year-old, from the mouth of babes, as I call my letters, was very appealing to me. And another one reads, Dear Miss Jenkins, thank you for taking your time and telling us the true story about Rosewood. I like when you tell the story because it is true. You taught me about the back way African American men took. They too are in order to so that they would not get picked on. I think this saved some of them in Rosewood. Again, thank you for coming. I hope you make a book about Rosewood. And I want you to know, if you are listening, you're probably like 28 by now, because this was back in 1994, I think I wrote this. You all wrote these letters. But anyway, the last one I'm going to read was written by a young man. His name is Eric, and if you want to know the color, this young man is white, and this is what he had to say. Thank you for coming to our school to discuss Rosewood. The Rosewood incident was never recorded in our history books. Did you all hear that? The Rosewood incident was never recorded in our history book, and now we are trying to ban Black history. But this is a white kid, age 10, was smart enough to know that Rosewood history was not in his history book. And I'm saying that so other people out there who are trying to ban Rosewood history can hear me. I learned because of segregation, the world was so out of line. I am hoping that in the future, your teachings will help me avoid conflict. I also liked your song. Sing it again. Keep up the good work. Feel free to come back anytime you prefer. I didn't know there was such violence. I hope you feel better about the talking. I'm sorry. I hope you feel better about talking about it. Sincerely, Eric. And there are close to 100 letters in here. Anytime I want to think about the lives of children in the next generation, I always go back and read these letters. Remember, rosewoodflorida.com is where you can go and make your donation, okay? John, anything you want to say? When I started talking, I just talk a lot.
Well, Dad, I've been with you for 35 years. I know you don't know when to stop, but when you live with someone and married, there's nothing you can do about it. But take it. But you're saying after a while she come back and tell you, oh, I apologize. But the main part is over by then, so she's all right for me. Rosewood is a main thing that she talk about all the time. And it's so many things I have done to make her what she is today. I'm proud of her. And I continue to tell her, I got your back, no matter where you go. But I'm not in the public much, but I'm the guy in the background.
And I appreciate you
I'm
in the background.
Always.
So there are times when I go to sleep at my computer, and I'll feel a touch on my back. Mm-hmm. Are you there? Are you okay? Do you need to come to bed? And sure enough, I need to go to bed. But Rosewood is 24/7. I got a job to do. I'm sitting here now telling you the story. It's important. History is who we are. It's important. Without it, it's nothing. And as I say to you in the middle of one of my commercials, there is an ad that says gun violence. It's about gun violence. We are tired, fed up with the hate. It's too much hate. We together, collectively, collaboratively, can make sure, or hopefully, can bring the violence to no more. Just bring it to a halt. Just stop it. People act like they're going crazy, killing and gun happy. It's not easy for the family members, and it's not easy for us, the listeners, the observers. We don't appreciate that. Life is very important, and once we kill people, we cannot unkill them. So we need to stop our being mean to people.
Yeah, you're right.
And just be sensible. Be sensible, because Rosewood happened because of a lie. that Fannie Taylor decided to tell on my uncle, said he assaulted her. And from that, the whole town was burned to the ground, okay? And today, I want the world to know, okay? So, that's about time for our first half. We're going to head to a quick break, and we'll be right back after a quick Rosewood word.
I am Black History.
I am Rosewood Black History. I am Florida and America's Black History, and you are too.
January 1st, 1923, the KKK insurrectionists attacked Rosewood, killing 5, burning it down.
Because a white woman lied and cried, a black man assaulted me. Rosewood redevelopment is on its way.
Want to help? Visit rosewoodflorida.com.
My name is Lizzie Robinson Jenkins. I am the president and founder of the Real Rosewood Foundation, established 2003 in Archer, Florida. Years ago, in a little town called Rosewood, Florida, there was a massacre. Several people were killed, all because of guns, violence, disrespect. We cannot allow gun violence to take out our young kids. We're coming together. We're going to work together. And we are going to put guns on the run. GNV. Welcome back to Queen Lizzie Podcast, recorded right here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Coach Spurrier's own podcast room. We are here with guest John Jenkins, my $1 million husband. Let me tell you why I call John a $1 million husband. When I was single, growing, teaching, I've always wanted to be a millionaire, and I would tell everybody, by the time I turn 50 years of age, I'm going to be a millionaire. Guess what? I turned 50 years old, not a millionaire, but I met this man, and he is my $1 million husband, and that's what I call him, and that he is. We attended school, finished school at the same school. We played on the basketball team, and 30 years later, one day, he was working in Winn-Dixie, and I walked in, and he said to me, "I know you." And I said to myself, "I sure don't know you." He didn't hear me, however. He said, "Your name is Lizzie Robinson." I said, "Yes." He said, "We were classmates." I said, "Oh, my God, what's his name?" And I said, "What's your name?" He said, "John Jenkins." I said, "Oh, yes, I remember." And the rest is history. I know you thought I was going to tell you my story, but no, but he is my $1 million husband, and he has been there 1,000,000 times plus for me. And this is the only reason I am able, I have the mobility, I have the courage, everything I need. God supplies, but John does too. Everything I need to keep this history alive, he is there for me. I have ideas, suggestions, or whatever. He is always there to talk to me about it, and that's why Rosewood keeps moving forward. And when I talk about my auntie, that's my maternal side of the family. I have never talked about on this show my paternal side of the family, of the McIntyres. I found my great-great-grandfather. When I say found, I asked my mom. My mother was a genius, okay? She knew everybody's history, her side, and then she knew my father's. I said, "Mom, who is the McIntyres, and where are they from, and what's his name?" I knew Abner McIntyre, my great-grandfather. So I asked her, I said, "Well, what's Abner McIntyre's name?" She said, "Henry McIntyre." And I said, "Where from?" She said, "Levy County." I said, "Where in Levy County?" She couldn't tell me. But however, she gave me enough information for me to research. And one day I was at the Smathers Library, sitting there going through the files, the fish, can't think of it right now. Anyway, the records. The name Henry McIntyre popped up, and I said, "Oh my God, there you are! I found you." And from that day, I continued researching, and I also discovered that he was in Cedar Key, Levy County, in 1848, age 1. But the sad news about finding him, there were no parents. I didn't know what happened to his parents and where were they. So when I returned home, I told my mom about my experience, and I said, "But Mom, there were no parents." She said, "Well, back then, slave masters did what they wanted to do. They probably gave him or changed his name, not his name, but changed his whomever was or his parents." Yes, thank you, John. Probably changed their names so that we would not be able to track him and keep up with him. But anyway, what is so amazing about that, I met this lady who is a publisher and a good friend. And I told her, I said, "I need help." I had gone as far as I could go doing my research. But before I talk about this lady, before I bring her in, I continued my research, and I found out that his entire family, I found my great-grandfather attached to him. And I also discovered that in 1880, he owned 159 acres of property. And all of a sudden, as I kept searching and searching, I told my mom about it. I said, "Mom, Grandpa Henry owned property in Rosewood," because he was, okay, back up. There was a tsunami. During that tsunami, somehow they ended up in Rosewood, which was called Precinct 19. However, the property that he owned, he still owned it. And I was telling my mom, I said, "Well, Mom, he owned property. Where is it? What happened to it?" She said, "Well, they took his property." And I said, "Took?" I said, "How and who would take his property?" She said, "Well, they called him in one day." When she said they called him in, she meant the KKK or the people in charge. Called him in the office one day and had his property deeds on the table and said to him that there were guns on the table, and said to him, "Henry, sit down." And he and his wife, Mary, my great-great-grandmother, went in and they sat down, and they said to them with the guns, "Henry, Yaza, don't you want to sell that property? Yaza, put your X here." And sure enough, he gave his property away. He didn't give it away. They took it. And the X, it's a type X, so I know it's not his signature. And I have that deed today. And I have a young lady, as I was about to say earlier, who is investigating my McIntyre family. And she called me one day. She said, "Your family did pretty well in Levy County." I said, "And what do you mean?" She said, "I found Abner McIntyre." And as I said, Abner is my great-great-grandfather. Said he was a teamster. And I didn't want to ask her at the time, "What is a teamster?" So I didn't ask her. But I asked her later. And she told me the importance of being a teamster. And I'm not going to tell you. You look it up for yourself. That's your assignment. And while you're looking that up, stop by rosewoodflorida.com and give us a donation. I'm going to rub that in today. But anyway, taking a step back to the property, I asked a young man, I said, "Now, what happened to the property?" And he told me if he had liability insurance on that property, it still belongs to him. And as we speak, we are searching and researching that to see if there was liability insurance on that property. If so, I want my property back. Okay, Levy County. And I know they're listening too. But You think so, John?
What did you say? They listening.
Yes, we'll name it. We'll change it from Levy County to McIntyre County. If y'all got our property and you had it that long, 100 plus years, we want our property back. If not, y'all give us a big donation toward the foundation. Am I begging? Of course I am. I'm just trying to make you acknowledge that you took my granddaddy's, my great-great-granddaddy's property. Not only that, yesterday I heard from this same lady who was doing the research. She said, Liz, I want you to know that 80 acres of the property that Henry McIntyre owned is on Highway 27 there in Chiefland. I said, wow. And then she said, well, I found another 100 acres that belong to your great-great-grandfather, Henry McIntyre, and it's in Chiefland. So they are having a ball. I hope you're listening, Chiefland. Because if you all are making use of our property because of theft and you didn't pay him, we want our property back. And let me tell you something else. When I was doing my research, I said, now who authorized this transaction? As I continued to look, it was the 21st president of the United States has his signature on this deed, on this property deed. And his name is Chester A. Oh my God, Arthur. That's his name, Chester A. Arthur, who was the 21st president, and he was born like in 1854, I believe. No, he was born before then. But anyway, another civil rights story that is connected to Chester A. Arthur. He was an attorney before he became the president, and when he became the president, he replaced James Garfield, who was the president the same year because Garfield was assassinated in 1854. So anyway, I continued to read about President Chester Arthur, and this was this incident, civil rights incident, happened in 1854, long before my grandfather lost his property. What he did, a young lady, black lady school teacher, her name was Elizabeth Jennifer Graham, was on the New York, she lived in New York, she was a teacher and she was an organist, she played the organ, and she lived in New York, and she was sitting in a seat where black folks were not allowed to sit, and she was asked to move, and of course they moved her because she didn't. And many of us think that Rosa Parks was the first. Rosa Parks was not the first, okay. Maybe 100 years later, Rosa Parks repeated her history, but it was Elizabeth Jennifer Graham who was the first person to be moved from her seat because she was black. And it was something else I was going to say, but that's enough about my history. But it's always good to know your history. And when I tell my history about the president, then you need to know something else good he did, or something, community job he did for the people in the world. Okay. As I continue to ask you all to donate, we are also starting on my website. By the way, we are launching the website, our website, Rosewood, Florida, on May 5th. May 5th is the birthday of the Rosewood School teacher. So we're going to launch that new website, and remember to go there and say, let me give her a happy birthday gift, okay? She's 129 years old. Let me donate $129, okay? We'll take 5. But anyway, it's her birthday. The website is going to be different, and we want you to enjoy it. I hope it's entertaining. We need sponsors. If you want to sponsor, if you're listening to me and say, well, I think my company will sponsor this website, we will willingly, happily, we will receive it. Okay, and as I was about to say, we are starting a fundraiser to help move the house, and it's called Brick by Brick. You will see the details will be on the website in the event you want to purchase a brick. We are going to have a brick wall or a brick walkway, and whatever the details will be on the website. Your comments or your wording, whatever you want to say on that brick, whatever comment you want to talk about, you will have our permission to share it on the brick. And I've already talked about the peace and healing and the 159 acres. I've talked about all of that. But anyway, I didn't tell you where the president, Chester, immigrated from Ireland, okay? And I'm telling you all this so that the children go follow me, listen to me, and read about some of the information that I am sharing with you. There was a Rosewood movie in 1997. It's sensationalized a little bit, but it gives you enough information for you to listen to it and learn from it. And John, we were talking about the last time we were in Rosewood together. Remember, we were there, and that's when we did the commercial, the ad, and the people came up. Remember?
Oh, yes, I remember that day.
And they were not, when I said the people, I mean, people still are agitated. They're not happy when they see us in Rosewood. And when we would go down to the peace and healing ceremony, the entire time we were there, every 5 or 10 minutes we would hear a gun, boom, boom, going off. But it didn't intimidate us. It was there to get attention, and I'm thinking, trying to intimidate us, but we didn't leave. So the last time we were there in 2021, remember you said, let's go.
Yeah, that's when we went down the road. They was walking down there to look at something.
At the cemetery.
At the cemetery, and then we turned around and came back. And it was getting close to dark. And I remind you, I say, I think we should be getting out of town.
You said, we need to get out of Dodge. And of course.
So everybody, I said, everyone, it's time to go. So, but it was some kind of experiment. And it's sort of like a war thing, but no one was hurt. They just, the idea that they thought that gunshots intimidate people, but I've been around a lot. So it didn't hurt me, but I didn't have any problem with them, but that's their town. We were just a visitor there for that short time. And when I first went down to Rosewood, I had gone through it before I knew it was Rosewood because the sign wasn't no bigger than your TV. And then it began to grow, and as it grew, she told me about it, and then she had the sign made in Tallahassee, the one down there now. They shipped it to me on a Sunday. So I got my van, and I met them side the road in Tallahassee. They put it in my van, and then we give it to the road department down in Levy County to put it up. And I said to myself, why didn't they just send it straight to the road department? But I guess if they had sent it to the road department, it wouldn't have been their Monday when they got ready to put it up. So I give it to them on the day they were supposed to put it up.
And sure enough.
They bullet riddled it.
Yeah, sure enough. He is right. It probably would have been gone. Why did they send it to us? Okay. But on the day we erected that marker, the same day, May 4, 2004, the very same day, that night, someone came from Cedar Key, dragged it, pulled it up, dragged it, and took it to Cedar Key and put it in a young man's yard, front yard. The man called me terrified the next morning and said, Mrs. Jenkins, your sign is in my yard. I said, sir, that's not my sign. What sign? He said, the Rosewood sign. Somebody put it in my yard. Come to find out it was a rival of his. They were both clam farmers. And he was angry. He put it in. He said, what should I do with it? I said, sir, I don't know. I said, what have you done already? He said, I got a blanket over it. My wife told me to cover it up because we don't want the people here in Cedar Key to know the sign is in my yard. And I said, I'll give you a number to call. He said, no, you call them. So I called the young man who does all of the remodeling of the signs and of that sign. I already had his information, called him and asked him to pick it up. And he picked it up and brought it back. And I understand, he told me, he said, now when I take it back, I'm going to have my daughter to drive me. He said, because I want her to stay inside the truck, and I'm going to jump off the truck, and I'm going to install it. I'm going to erect it again. And after that, I was getting calls all the time, because whenever they would come to town or whenever they destroyed that marker, he would always call me, and he was always given the funds to repair it. So that was his job. And the last count, it had been damaged 18 times. They shot it up, they pulled it down, and just really, really mean, because I tell people the DNA is still there. People live there now that do not want Rosewood talked about. Okay, so I talked about a little more today than Rosewood. I talked about my great-great-grandfather's property, which is dear to my heart. Okay, I am continuously humbled, honored, and blessed to meet people daily and invite them to join in peace building, healing, and reconciliation through learning about the history of Rosewood. That will wrap up today's episode. Thanks to John Jenkins Sr. I am Queen Lizzie. Until next time. Goodbye.